is June 2nd, 2023. We're with Ann Beer. I am Susan Kendall in Windsor, Canada. Good morning, Ann. Thank you for doing this. Can you tell us your name and age when you were born and where?
I was born in 1933, December 16, in Hungary, in Budapest. I come from, my family went from Austria, and in late 1700, the law was changed that only as far as I know, the oldest child was able to inherit. So a lot of people left and went to Hungary, which my family settled in northern Hungary, which today Slovakia. They got involved with the lumber industry as well as owning the local pub. They supplied lumber to Budapest, but they couldn't move to Budapest till the law changed in 1867, which case they did. And they were, I think they were assimilating it quite a bit. In Hungary, you had to talk Hungarian, went to school in Hungary. As far as I can make out, in 1848 revolution, they funded it. I don't know if anybody was taking part in it. My brother, I guess my grandfather and her brother started or continued this firm of lumber. I did not say, I was born as Neuschloss, Neuschloss. My father, changed his religion after the First World War not because he was religious, but at that time there was a short communist regime in Hungary, and Jews were supposed to be leading, and he wanted to show that he's not a communist, so he changed his religion. Okay. My mother was also Jewish, but changed her religion before they got married. So married in a Calvinist Reformed Church of Hungary. And I was brought up as a Christian, went later on to Sunday school. Even my mother's mother and I remember going to church on a Sunday. Okay? I know. I also have a brother, who I mention later on. I remember my father being, the jovial one. If I show you pictures, and my mother was the more disciplinarian and looking after me. I wasn't a very easy child. So at one point I was taken to a psychoanalysis. I didn't do much good, but anyway. So then I remember a lot about the war. Okay.
Did you know any Jewish families when you were
Well, as a
a child?
matter of it turned out all the people I became close, or most of them, were Jewish. But it didn't affect me. What my brother said to me, he says, Jesus, who is 5 years older than I am, I'm surprised that you didn't know we are Jewish because we often talked about it at dinner. Because he was uh, very aware of anti Semitism. Now, I don't remember taking it has anything to do with me. That's all I can gather, as there is nobody to ask. Okay? Uh, I enjoyed going to kindergarten. I hated school. And I even know I have difficulty memorizing things. Uh, but my family, we went, skiing in the winter and going to Lake Balaton in the summer, and I enjoyed myself. The first bomb landed not far from our home, and I remember going out and collecting sharpeners. I'm very happy to be able to do things. Um, my I was brought up with liberal, I guess is the word. My parents let me go to places on my own, and I was 5, 6, 7 years old, while my girlfriend had to have somebody to bring her. So that was me who went to her place all the time. And the war affected me. I was scared, but I loved that during the summer, winter of 43, 44, if not 42 and 43, I don't remember that. We had long holidays, and I went skiing and enjoying myself. My father was an architect, owned a building. Oh, he built a lot of building, and of course, he did extremely well during the war, because I heard, my uncle who stayed alive did some research, and I understand his firm had thousands of people working for him for the war effort. So he didn't have to go into the army. He got exempted, all kinds of things. We went rowing in the summer, during the summer on the Danube. Okay. Now I remember March 1944. That's when the German came into Hungary. Hitler wasn't not Hitler, but Horthy, the head of Hungary, wasn't that enthusiastic what's happening. So he was holding back. He didn't, there were some Jewish laws against Jews, but not as much as Hitler wanted. So they came in, and I remember going home on the train from rowing, and my father they found out what was happening, that the Germans came in. Well, that didn't make any difference. I went to school. Later on, I was told one morning that, we were Jewish, and I don't know, next 2 weeks from now, this was March or April, could be even May, 44, that we're Jewish. And I went to school and I told my friend, I am Jewish, are you Jewish too? And most people didn't tell their kids right away. So that's what I remember my mother getting a number of calls complaining that they told me and I told them. And I had Jewish friends, Christian, and some Jewish and half Jewish, and they didn't know what to tell their kids. The law wasn't clear.
Why did your parents tell you?
Well, because that's the kind of people, right? They were. They told, because they had to tell me. I think my cousin wasn't told till the day before he had to wear this star. But my parents talked to me and told me things. And I was, we were living in Buddha, and they found a room in other end of in Budapest, Pest, and one of my memories being on the horse and buggy going to this Jewish house. There was no ghettos at the time. There were certain apartment buildings designated as Jewish houses.
And how did that house compare to what you had before?
Yeah, we lived in a very nice apartment. My father was trying to build a house but didn't get the permit anyway. And we were able to just leave the house an hour a day. This would be summer of 1944. I remember going down to the Danube, and one day a policeman came. Okay, my mother left and told somebody to look after me, but when the police came, they all disappeared. But the policeman wasn't interested in being Jewish. They just didn't want us to swim in the Danube. That was an episode I remember. But whenever there was an air raid, I didn't mind. People were very nice to me. And then sometimes in the summer of 1944, my mother says, "You're going to leave here, and we made arrangement for you to stay at a convent where other Jewish kids were staying." I remember I didn't want to go, so it took a couple of days to calm me down, and I went. And
Where was it? Where was it? How did you get there?
Oh, well, somebody took off my star, and so a Gentile friend took me there. Okay. At the beginning, it was okay. We all had our own bed, and having been Christian, I didn't have to take part of the Christianization of the Jewish kids. They let me be. It was a nice big garden with fences, so nobody much bothered.
How many children were there?
Quite a few. I have no idea number-wise. Uh,
So at this point, did you think you were Jewish or Christian?
oh yeah, well I knew I.
All of a sudden you're Jewish.
Yeah, that. But I didn't know I was with. Okay, I even today, I think of myself. I'm ethnically Jewish, but I don't know anything about the Jewish religion even today. Somebody in Windsor decided that I should go to a synagogue. They took me, and my reaction was, sorry, Pat. So first, I went twice, first and last time. I'm okay. I'm not interested in religion. I'm not religious at all.
So when you were at the church, did you?
Well,
What was life like?
I don't remember much. At the beginning, we were fed 3 times a day, and I did. It was a big garden, and we were there. I remember much more later on when the siege, this, I guess, the siege of Budapest started in December 44. Okay. I remember once I woke up at night and the nun was standing there with a German soldier. And I guess she was able to convince him that we are orphans. Okay, but I remember waking up. Then later on, we were staying at a place in Buda, which was the last area to be conquered by Russians. So there was a lot of street fighting. By that time, I had to sleep on the ground floor that had no basement, on mattresses, head to toe, where there wasn't very much place. Food became scarce. We had to go and collect water. And but what happened to me is that I was given a beautiful pair of shoes, handmade shoes, and my feet grew, and my toes bunched up and became hurt. And nobody told me to take off those shoes because I thought they were lovely. And even today, I mean, I had cold feet since then. It took me a long time for it not to hurt very much. Okay. Food was scarce. We had beans and peas and nothing else. A German soldier was brought in who died right beside us on the room. Then a Russian soldier was brought in. You know, those are things that I remember. The Russian conquered and gave us candy, but one of the head nun got raped. And I even have a mental picture of her coming out wailing after being raped. Okay? And even though I was, 11-year-old, I was told, just disappear. Okay? God knows what will happen. I was one of the older kids. So those are things I remember.
Were you lonely? Did you miss your parents?
Well, sure. Okay, one thing my brother, which I say I was 11, he was 16, was on the way to taken to concentration camp from the Jewish house. He took his star off and disappeared. Now, it it would be November 44 till January, February. So it wasn't a long time. But then he managed to get help from people, Gentile people. But he became a 16-year-old kid who was supposed to be in the army. So he spent time, and he talks in that how horrible it was. Okay, that's 3 months for him, because he was in the double jeopardy.
Right. But you weren't in fear?
Hmm?
Were you living in fear? In the convent, were you scared?
Well, not because of being Jewish, but because of the war. Okay? I mean, there was street fighting. So that's why I always tell people, okay, actually, I thought that's how you found me. That a friend of mine, Christian, who is on the show committee in Windsor, and I would never went. Well, I came to Windsor 30 years ago, but I didn't have very much to do with the Jewish Community Center.
So what happened when you were at the convent, and then what happened?
Oh, well, yeah, well, I go back, but I will have to say that my friend came to me 2 weeks before Shoah. The person we were having is not coming. You're going to make a speech. And I did. And since then, I've been kind of going to the Jewish Community Center, but not much. Because I find this is very important for me. For Jews, I'm too Christian, and for Christian, I'm too Jewish. So I don't belong anywhere. And that makes life lonely. Because one thing about belonging to a house of church, synagogue, whatever, it gives people a sense of belonging. And I never had that. One of the things my brother did, I remember how a 16-year-old kid could remember a younger sister's birthday. He came to the convent with a can of peaches.
On your birthday.
And that was the best birthday present I ever got, because we were pretty well starving. So the Russians eventually came, and people started to leave, and I was waiting for somebody to pick me up and get together with my mother's mother, who turned out that she was in the Budapest ghetto and wouldn't go down to the basement, and the house got bombed and she died. Okay. So my brother arranged for us to stay some distant relatives, and came and got me, and it was very difficult. I don't really remember, but just crossing the Danube, where I really saw parts of bodies floating up. I tell people I did which could have happened, but I don't have a visual memory of that. But my feet were frozen. I had difficulty walking and had to walk everywhere, which was very difficult. Uh, my brother became my father and looked after me. It's amazing what a 16-year-old kid said. Told somebody in Canada just recently what happened to me. She says, "You were 11-year-old. My granddaughter is 11-year-old. I just can't imagine this happening." Anyway, so I started school, grade 5.
Where were you staying? At your cousin's?
Some relative. I don't really know how he managed to find a place. He had a room, the maid's room. These apartments had a maid's room where he stayed, so he could come and go, and I stayed with the family. Uh, and started school. Now, my brother then joined the communist youth. I was hoping I would be one of them. But at school, somebody asked me to join a group, which was a Jewish group. It was a scouting group for boys belonging to one of the synagogues. But then it became illegal for Jewish boys to do this. So they went underground and even got their girlfriends involved and helped each other, made sure they had a good rucksack if they were called up and such. And that's the group I joined. But well, everybody was Jewish. I don't remember any Jewish holidays or Jewish anything. We went and hiked in the hills of Budapest and such, and enjoyed myself. And one of the things I know that the beginning we go for a hike, and we had to take a lunch. Eventually, I ordered the best food. While the beginning, I just took a little bit, but I had a sense of belonging. And two of those girls I'm still in touch with. A few years ago, one of them is in Argentina, and the other one is in England, and we met in Argentina. And what I realized that my parents weren't around. I have completely different memories of what happened, how I felt, than they did. They had their parents, and I didn't. And I mean, I wouldn't stay anybody. I hated everybody. You know, my uncle and aunts managed to stay alive. Why didn't my father? And my father trusted the Hungarian government. They were good to him. Now, I even call him, he was a war monger, okay? He worked for the Hungarian government, for the Hitler. So when they told that he has to do something, he did. As a matter of fact, the Hungarian government gave an exemption that we didn't have to wear the Star of David. That was in September 1944. And I was supposed to come out of the convent and start school. Well, my father was looking for a nice apartment, stayed in the Jewish house till he found it. Well, it was too late. Came October 15th, when the real Nazis took over, and Eichmann came back and started uh, taking people to kill, and my parents were one of them. So my brother eventually, sometimes, I can't, it must have been February or March, came and got me, and we moved and went, started school, eventually became, joined this Hungarian Jewish group, but we weren't religious at all. I don't remember being religious. Most of the others were brought up as Jews, but I wasn't, so I didn't feel any compulsion. I mean, I wouldn't stay anybody. I hated everybody because they were alive. So once again, I couldn't remember all of the places I stayed, but I know that from 45 to 48 till I came to Canada, I stayed over 30 different places, a few months here, a few months there. Okay? So I went to school. Okay? But I enjoyed, all throughout my life, sports, swimming, hiking, and I think that's what makes me alive today. Okay? Then my uncle, my father's sister and family came to Canada in 1938, and they invited my brother and I to come to Canada. Now, my brother refused, and he ended up studying in Russia. But there was nothing for me there. And the place I was staying, where I liked, the last 6 months, I was the oldest and I couldn't stay there, so I had to accept it. So I don't know who arranged for me to come to Canada. I was put on a plane and I arrived in Montreal by plane, and we drove from Montreal to Midland, Ontario, where the Beer family lived. Now, that afternoon, just to clarification, when I talked, my father and my mother is my biological parents, and my dad and mom are my eventually adopted parents. Dad went to work and was told there's no more job.
Were these people Jewish?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And I could never, what happened is that because a Jewish family gave Dad a job to run a factory during the war, it wasn't his specialty. So after the war, he met some people who started off a company, heating and which was exactly what he would like to do. And he went to his boss, who said, "Look, I have till end of December to decide." "Oh no, we want you." And put up his salary. And he said, "Okay." January 15th, he was told they found somebody else. So there I was. I'm still killing people. That was my fault. And 2 years later, he was commuting from Midland to his job. We were moving to Toronto. He died in a car accident. I don't know. And once again, okay, in Midland, I had a brother and sister. The sister really looked after me all her life. um, Judy, Andy, and I didn't really click. But we were Anne and Andy. "Are you sister, brother?" Oh no, we're 3 months apart. That was a joke. But and I mean, one of the things I remember in Midland, I came in January and I was given skis. With what is it? Um, the skis had some metal on it, which didn't have in Hungary. And the rope too. I didn't have to work out. I mean, that was wonderful. Even though I sat in school as deaf and dumb, there was no English as a second language. Uh, Although I could do more math than others did. Not in Hungary, I was in grade 8, but at that time you had to have an exam to get into high school, and it was decided that I won't learn enough English in 6 months, so I was put into grade 9, and with the understanding that I would repeat it. But I mean, there were some funny things happened, like the first class I was put into was home economics, and people were learning to crochet, and I learned to crochet at age 6 or something. So when the teacher came and showed me what to do and came around, I had a piece done. It went all around town that she must be a genius to pick it up. But nobody knew how to deal with me. As far as I know, I was the first European immigrant in Midland. Uh, the teachers were really too good. They gave me, if they thought I knew the answer, they gave me full marks. So being in school wasn't a problem till we moved to Toronto. Okay? And Judy, my adopted sister, really looked after me and trying to make me a good Canadian. And well, both Andy, the brother, and Judy had difficulty becoming Canadians. Okay? So Judy became in the choir, singing in the choir, not baseball, basketball star, highest mark in school, okay? And he did okay in school, but all I know that he smoked cigarettes. And the principal called Dad in, and Dad was a very authoritarian guy and didn't talk to him. And he died without talking to his son 6 months later in a car accident. Okay. I can't talk to him. He's dead too. So is Judy. So you got only what I can't check anything. So it's purely my memory. So I decided that I kill people. Couldn't trust anybody. We moved to, after a year after, this would be 52, we moved to Toronto, where Mom had rented rooms, for room and board to students, okay? A boarding house. All of a sudden, I failed everything in school. I wish I had it today. I was given a report card, hopeless. Okay?
You spoke English now, though.
Well, yeah, by then, yeah, but not very well, okay? Because I remember somebody asked me, and a lot of the foreign kids at Bloor Collegiate were foreigners who were very good in English. I am not a linguist even today. But somebody said, well, were you a good student in Hungary? I said, no. Oh, so what do you expect? But, okay. Judy, Andy went to U of T school, and Judy went to university. And I eventually got grade 12, but not grade 13. I started working in different offices and lived with a lot of Duke people, students, and there's some Hungarian, actually, immigrants who were living in a rooming house. I don't know how Mom did it, okay? But she did.
Was there any anti-Semitism when you were?
Oh, well, no. I was supposed to go to Harvard Collegiate. That's where we lived. But Mom decided I better go to Bloor Collegiate where there are no Jews.
Why? Why?
Well, because we're Christian. Huh?
Wasn't she Jewish?
Yeah, just like assimilating Jews. But they came to Canada and joined the Calvinist, United Church. And the Judy, I said, was singing in the choir. And I remember Mom saying that after a war, she had a friend, a neighbor, who said, we are Jewish. Because trying to find out who was alive or not. And the woman saying, that's okay, I have Catholic friends too. At that time, that was the thing. It was bad enough to be Catholic. Okay, so as a matter of fact, I was sent the first 2 summers to a very religious Christian summer camp. Uh, Bloom, a Dutch woman who saved a lot of Christian Jews. Do you know them? Who I'm talking about? Bloom came to the camp and talking about it. What did I do? I became a good Christian. I joined, I was saved. Uh, Apparently, when Mom was worried about if I'm too religious, he said, "Don't worry, it doesn't last." Which it didn't. But I have a friend, even who I met at that camp in 1948. And it's because what she did. I met her in Toronto on the street. She recognized me, and we've been in touch ever since.
So you were with a Jewish family, but they pretended they were Christian?
Yeah. Oh, they were. I mean, Judy and Andy were brought up as Christians, assimilating Jews.
Mm-hmm. But they still took you in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But, and it's something, I know Judy married a Christian upper class, and I think that's why she married him, but that's another matter, who told me that she insisted that her future in-law know that she's of Jewish background before they married in a Christian church. Okay?
So did you think it was safer to be Christian in Toronto? Or easier?
I didn't. It wasn't discussed. I was just told to, that's a school. I mean, I would love to ask her why she did it. Because I think if I would have been at Harbour Collegiate with other Jews, I would have easier time.
Why? Why would it be easier?
Well, because the other people might have lived what
Shared
I lived
stories.
and knew my story.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't. And school, I didn't do well. As a matter of fact, I wanted to go into nursing, but I didn't do well in good enough, even grade 12. So anyway, I didn't. And I worked in offices. And I saved money to go to Europe. And Judy, that's a sister, and I were, she just graduated from university, and I were supposed to go to Europe. Well, she met her future husband, so I went alone. Lived in a cold water flat with some people I knew in Toronto. Worked, okay? I enjoyed myself. Then came 1956. Was hoping to go to Hungary to save Hungary for the revolution. We didn't get to Hungary. But I ended up in England in a camp where Hungarian brought from Austria to England, waiting to come to Canada. Okay. Well, my Hungarian was pretty bad by that time. I was called misinterpreter. Uh, okay. Uh, but I'm married. I went to Europe. I hitched around Europe. Didn't get to Hungary. This would be 1956. Uh, and eventually I returned to Canada. I lived in the boarding with mom with the boarding house. Um, then she got cancer, and she moved in. Well, by that time, Judy was married with kids. She moved in with her, and I moved on my own. And she died soon after. But Judy looked after me throughout her life. So, matter of fact, okay. So I guess that's something I don't talk about. And I was alone, didn't trust anybody. Okay, one thing mom did, she said, look, Judy and Andy went to university. I'm sending you to a psychiatrist. Because a Hungarian guy who helped her friend. So I went. Well, he seduced me. And he became my father, my lover. Today I can talk about it, but at that time you didn't talk about it. You didn't even talk about you had a boyfriend.
Did you tell him that you had lost your parents?
Oh, yeah.
So was he?
He's a Hungarian.
So he was.
No. I mean, okay. But I lived with him for 10 years. Okay, one thing I did go, because he was having sessions at night, so I was all lonely. I went back to school. And by that time, it was early 60s. I scared as hell because okay. And he helped me. Don't worry. You just say this. Don't worry. And I had, ended up 2 evenings. I went to York University, Atkinson College. I don't know if you know, but that was a night school. And first couple of courses, I was always good in math. We had to take a math, so I started off. But eventually, I got my first A. And even that was political. That was the time the headline news that there is atomic bomb in the air at all times. And I wrote a paper I wish I had. Okay, 500 years ago it was God who was up there. Today it's an atomic bomb. I got my first A. And continued taking two in the winter and one in the summer till I got my BA. And I wanted to go to, where was it? Oh, then he told me he's leaving me because I'm boring. I was very upset. I finished my year, decided I could go to graduate school in England. I got accepted. I asked him, because I cooked for him. I bought him things he needed. He had his own apartment. I had my apartment. Most days we slept together, but it's today it's not so shocking but 1960s it was. You didn't talk about it. Um, he decided that I'm okay. So he left. I was very upset. And at that time, the last undergraduate courses I took left, quit school, or quit work, and took full time. And there I was, didn't have it all by myself. Uh, he came back in a few months, and I took him back. But I decided, hey, if I'm boring, I'm going to demand things. Well, that didn't go very well either. Uh, and oh, it was my birthday, and he said he'll come. We'll go out to dinner, and he'll be home there, pick me up at 6:30. He wasn't there at 8 o'clock. I was at his place, so I went home, locked the door. He couldn't believe that he couldn't talk himself back in, but I said, that's enough. I was by that time in graduate school. But it, and I, and that's one of the things that I'm sorry about, that I thought he was everything. And I have to do whatever he said, even if I was grumbling that he didn't. He was supposed to give me money for food. He never did, and I never bothered. I worked as a clerk. I had enough money to do that, and we went on holidays, which was very nice. But when I said, look, I'm going to England, I need some money, he just laughed at me. So I was accepted at York, where I continued. I got my master's and my PhD. Took me a long time because I really enjoyed myself. Oh, I got a Canada Council grant. Okay? So I had money, and if I needed, I could teach a course at Centennial, one of the colleges. I had a car, an apartment, and I was dreaming to be locked up in a library where I could do whatever read, not what I had to, but whatever I wanted to, which now I have. I only have one eye right now. I have blood clot in my one eye, so I use ebooks.
That's right.
And I can read, and I do. That's all I do. And within an hour, I get the book.
Wow. So then you eventually came to Winnipeg? Or to Windsor?
Well, eventually, but no, I took about 8-9 years to get my PhD, because I had all I did was, till they tell me if you don't finish your PhD, you won't be able to do it.
Right.
So I finished. I don't. You were a Torontonian. Do you know who Ursula Franklin was? Okay. Anyway, so I enjoyed myself. Also, it was difficult because I was older than some of my profs. Okay, now I can talk about it. What the hell do you want a PhD? Go back home. And even when women professors tried to create a women's group of graduate students to help them establish themselves, they did it just for themselves. Because I did things, so and so needs help. Shouldn't we do this? Oh, Not me, I'm a professor. Okay. uh, and I had to change people who supervised me. But I did get my PhD. I got a good friend of mine to read wasn't a sociologist. It was about adult education, my dissertation, who read it. And I remember her saying, this paragraph doesn't follow this paragraph. I said, yes, 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 of course. Write it down. And you might feel that way right now. I just jump around a lot. So I need somebody to say that because to me it's natural. Of course it is. But so when I finished my dissertation, okay, I was even said, oh, well, how well written it was, because somebody edited it who didn't know anything about the content, but just for English. I taught at Trent University a year. I couldn't stay there, and I knew by that time you had PhD will travel and publish. I knew I couldn't do that. Eventually, I got a job as being the director of education in the Chatham General Hospital. Well, they should have never hired me. I had no idea about the hospitals have their own culture. Okay? Now, if I lectured and gave the wrong percentage of something, nothing happens. But in a hospital, people die. Hmm? And I stayed around a couple of years when they decided that they had enough of me. But
Were you in contact with your brother?
oh yeah.
And was he Jewish or not Jewish?
Well, I'm asking his family. No, I am in touch with my sister. My brother died. Okay, I can tell you what happened to my brother. He became an ardent communist in 1949 or something. He went to Russia to study. Okay? He got a degree in economics, came back to Hungary, and realized what they're saying is happening and what's the reality, okay? He became part of the 1956 revolution, okay? He was a true Marxist, or okay, he felt guilty that he wasn't put in jail when all his friends were. But he married a woman who I'm still in touch with, also Jewish. Everybody is Jewish. None of us were ever in a synagogue, but we were, okay. I have real difficulty getting people to understand. I'm ethnically Jewish, but I don't know anything about the Jewish religion, literally.
There's lots of people like that.
Okay? Mm-hmm. But to most people, think of Polish Jews and, So when I read about, just recently, a book about a Hungarian Jewish family in the country, and I realized two things. That I come from my family was rich, assimilated. Okay? You say a lot of them. And okay, one of the things I became an existentialist. I'm alone. I have a nice quote I can find you from Jean-Paul Sartre, Orestes, being alone and have to live my way. I feel it's right. And I'm really, that's the only thing I'm really sorry that I gave up I on trust. I mean, I have friends. I went skiing and doing things, but I don't trust any really. I don't have that. Okay, I think I have a wrong idea now that I'm looking at for people I know who've been married 40 some years. And what I wanted from, what I thought I had from Alex, okay, my who was really an ideal father, what I think. They don't have it. You know, they it's not bad enough to quit yet, but it doesn't mean that they have that closeness. Okay? I mean, I have a trouble with who's been very good to me, a woman who who's married now 40 years. Okay, she wouldn't quit. She became a teacher, and he was in graduate school. That's why they came to Windsor. And then she became pregnant, and she refused to quit work, teaching. And he quit graduate school. As far as I can make out, he never really got a proper job. He's a house husband all his life. Kids are, well, grandkids are getting teenager. And she is involved with the Jewish community. She is, we went, I know, there is a salt mine in Windsor. It's just bought by a conglomerate, U.S. conglomerate, and trying to kick out the union, and we go and stand with the union people. It's been going for weeks. And she is part of. I said, well, won't David at least come, you know? And she sends, okay. Oh, what I didn't say when okay, where were we? I was in middle, Chatham, right? To get rid of me, they gave me a lot of money. And I couldn't get a good reference. And I went to see a psychologist in Windsor, and I decided Windsor needs another bookstore.
So you opened a bookstore?
For 30 years.
Oh, well. That's a long time.
Okay?
Uh-huh.
And that was the right thing for me.
Good.
Because I didn't have to, I was on my own. I did what I want. Somebody said, because I was starting, how do I order books? Whatever you think it's right. Don't, you know. I had for nearly 30 years, a bookstore. I was 82, and Amazon and that was before COVID. Mm-hmm. But I just had to give up because of Amazon. Mm-hmm. And a lot of bookstores had to give up. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what's your feeling now about the war and religion? What do you think now about the war or about religion or God? Like, what are your feelings?
Well, I have a problem. I don't know whether Marx or Freud is right, but I came to the conclusion that they're both right. It's a nice thing to belong, and I wish I could belong. I can't.
Mm.
It's a religion is helping people, okay, but it's a joke. It's a I brought it up because I thought that might.
Which book? Just show it.
The Gospel of the Flying Spaghetti Monster.
Okay, you can turn it for the camera. Yeah.
And I have it on my phone book, but or on my computer. Jean-Paul Sartre, Orestes talking about being alone, and I do things because I think it's right, not because. Well, I became anti-war. After the war. As a matter of fact, about 20 some years ago, a group of Christian women actually joined. Have you ever heard of Women in Black?
Mm-hmm.
I am one. I've been spending Women in Black vigil every week for 20 years. Okay? I am the only Jew in that group. But now it became a worldwide, not Jewish group. But I'm very much against war. As I think I mentioned that I taken a course just now with environment, and I mean, in one sense, I wish I could be religious or belong to a group, because I belong to this group, Women in Black, the most. But I don't really. I don't have that complete faith.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, okay, while I might be jealous of people who are, it's not, it's a crutch as far as I'm concerned. It's a nice, like now, I use a cane. I broke both my hips. I have difficulty walking. So I use a cane. It's better than nothing, but not for me. Thank you. Or I just can't. Okay, I wish it could be for me. It is. I just can't. I have a quote, and I can find it. Elie Wiesel says, "Hey, if you don't believe, why are you still shouting against what's happening?" And the guy says, "Gee, I should have made a copy of this too." I shout, I cry out. At the beginning, I believed that people will change. I know today they won't. But I have to keep on going so I won't change. That's what I believe.
And
You know, I belong to another group. I don't know. Once again, you know, Council of Canadians. Okay. Well, I belong there too. Maud Barlow wrote ago, still hopeful. Okay. So we had her in a Zoom meeting. Uh, and I realized I'm not really hopeful. But I do it because I think it's the right thing to do. That's where I stand.
do you have anything else that you remember or you want to say about the war or anything?
Well,
How it affected you?
only recently, well, since I'm thinking about this, but I'm also kind of, everybody tells me to write my biography. And I'm looking for somebody. I have oodles. I write down things to help me put it together. So I've been thinking quite a bit about my past. Um, I I guess I never forgive, okay, my father that he had so much faith in capitalism. He made a lot of money, and that's what turned me and my brother against capitalism. Okay? That he didn't realize what was happening. Um, uh, so that's where I am. And, you know, the Jewish community has a new head who's trying to bring more Jews, create a bigger Jewish community. I mean, I have no idea how you got my name, how you found out about me. Hmm. But I have always said I never lied about Jewish ethnic background. I couldn't if I talked about my life. My parents died in concentration camp. That makes me a Jew.
Well, Hitler certainly thought they were.
Hmm?
Hitler thought they were.
Okay. And my father had could have got himself new identity paper. His brother, who had much less money, did, and his family stayed alive. And my poor mother was a good wife. I mean, I am aware that that's why I'm alive, because she made sure that I was somewhere. My only hope is I drop dead. I have one of the women in black was born in Canada same day as I was, same year. She's going blind. Has all kinds of problems, but we kind of bonded with the same word. She did something wonderful in Dominion Republic. Started a group of women. 50 years later, still support each other. And the government is trying to give them an honor. But everybody says she's too sick to go on a plane and go there, and they can't get insurance. And that might be, and I just yesterday wrote a letter. For God's sakes, she's a 89-year-old woman, nearly 90. If she wants to go, and if she has the money, if she gets sick over there, that they can bring her back on the plane. And I think she did, because she taught 25 years in Windsor in a high school. You have to make it, let her go. Even if she, she might die. But that's her last wish. That might be my end of friendship. Because somebody who says, oh no, we can't get insurance, we can't let her go. And I said, for God's sakes. And that's the way about life. Okay? I'm very much against for medically assisted suicide. As a matter of fact, I am joined Exit International, who tells you how to finish you off. I am ready to go. There's nothing for me to live for. Okay? I mean, I have some friends, but I don't attach to anybody. I don't have children. People talk about we have to save the world. We have to for our children. I don't have anybody like that. So that's where I am.
Do you have any pictures that you wanted to share?
Well,
You're a child, or do you want help?
And I got because this friend of mine who's been so good to me and does a lot of things and takes me to, is really worried that.
Careful.
So, and I didn't know it because I want to do things, but I can't do. And she, we were somewhere, and I said I walk home. No, we can't. And she brought me home, and I couldn't know. And when thinking about this other friend, I wrote this letter because this is what I wanted to tell her, but it was much easier to talk about her instead of me.
Right. See which one there. Go where you want to go.
Let's see if I
Go where I want to go.
other thing that I put things.
Presbyterian or a Christian or no? What were you thinking?
Oh no. I don't. Well,
Non-denominational.
no, no, not Christian. No, not any religious. I no. I if I feel anything about religion, is more I know about Christian. But no, I should have been prepared better. Sorry. Do you want to see my brother's show? You
Is there something that you want to show?
no. I'm asking
okay.
if you. I have the number of.
Oh no, I'm good, thank you. Yeah. So I want to thank you for taking your
Okay.
time,
Sorry.
talking and telling us.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay, he's ready. So wait,
Okay.
are you good? Okay, so who is that?
Okay.
Yeah.
My biological mother, who I lived with 11 years, and this is my biological father. That's my adopted mother, and me.
Where are you?
And this is the bookstore I owned for 30 years, just around the corner from here. And I guess this is my biological mother and I. And did I show you this?
No.
Okay. This is about around the First World War. And my biological father and adopted mother and their siblings. That's it. That's enough. Well, I don't need it. But
Okay.
I have a whole big.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.